Hi, I'm Shivam,
Hi, I'm Izzy,
and this is PhoenixChat.
where one of us can read.
Which one?
You find out.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of PhoenixChat. So this is part 2 to the part 1 that we released a little bit earlier this week. Highly recommend that you check out the content of part 1 if you want context for all of the hows, whats, and whys of what we did during that session, and to give you a little more information about what exactly happened.
Go listen to it, or Juliet will beat you up.
Getting right into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is how we ended up designing Inario Kami just like as a character and making her this like goddess kind of figure, but having her have like the similarities between Juliet.
Yes. So first of all, it's a kitsune because it's the goddess of kitsunes. That's what we decided because the kitsune have to have something, and we decided she has to be. So there, we could have easily made her like super regal, royal, like I am high and mighty and I can help you, da da da. But we decided Juliet needs somebody other than Cass to look up to, like an actual like female figure, because she's from a society where females are in charge, and so she like her mom is a bitch. She's not gonna look up to her. And pretty much all of her people have looked up to Juliet for like things other than her mom. So Inario Kami is the next best thing. So we decided she has to be like, yes, she's a goddess, and yes, she like has some kind of power and authority, but she's more down to earth and more like Juliet's style of speed in order for Juliet to trust her more like unconditionally.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I really love kind of playing in that space too, because like she does have a little bit of that regal and like ethereal air about her. But she still also has those clear like chaotic trickster energy bits where like it's very clear where Juliet got that from.
Yes.
And especially love playing in the space too of like one of the interesting things I love about history is like because history can be very subjective at times, the idea that Juliet grew up with the idea of, like, Inario Kami being almost this, like, standoffish, ethereal figure who's so high and mighty and above everyone else, and when she finally meets Inario Kami for the first time, she realizes that, like, Inario Kami is just, like, a chill person, and she doesn't, like, want any of that, but, like, all those, like, high priests and stuff like that, they have to have this certain image of Inario Kami to give to, like, the masses that they decided to, like, change how she was, when they told other people. I really just adored being able to kind of play in that space.
Yes.
That, and also, like, Inario Kami was an interesting way to kind of, like, introduce the hints of where like Juliet needs to go for her arc, because Juliet's arc's the most interesting in that like Juliet needs to grow up before she gets to that arc instead of being able to grow up during it. But yeah, no, because like I think we both kind of had the idea like as soon as you gave me the character, like the end goal for it is one of the things where like you need to overthrow your mom, right? Like I think we both kind of established that, but it was definitely hard to get her to that point, so, like, having the hints of it right now is, so much better, because, like, you understand, like, in character and out of character what you need to work for and what you need to work towards, and so, like, having those interesting character building moments is even more impactful, because it all leads up into this arc, and it's all going to lead up towards there on this big journey. Yeah, and then do you want to explain, I don't know how much you want to get into the Rite of Ascension and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so basically the Rite of Ascension is, say, somebody from the royal family, which is Juliet, because Juliet is an only child. So say if she had siblings, they could also do this too. The Rite of Ascension basically is you get the approval of the court of kitsunes saying, yes, we approve of this person becoming royalty and possibly a leader. That's basically what the Rite of Ascension is. There's different things that she has to do in order to gain their favor, but she hasn't done any of that yet, and she probably won't until they get to her arc.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to go all the way to get to their favor, and then, like, with their favor, that's the point where you could finally, like, you want to get to the end of this. The end goal is, of course, like, a one-on-one duel with your mother.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, and so that's definitely just very interesting to lead all the way up until, and just showing how much Juliet's grown as a person, like, with those challenges. I don't want to spoil any of the challenges quite yet, but, like, with those challenges, I really want to showcase just how much Juliet has changed from the beginning.
Oh, yeah. Like, even now, like, looking at Juliet from, like, the first couple sessions to now, she's gone through a lot of shit, but, like, she's grown so much as a person. It's kind of, it's weird. It's like watching, like, your child grow up. I'm like, wow, I'm so
You're a proud mother.
I am a proud mom.
Oh, man. But yeah, so, and the other thing I also wanted to touch on with the Rite of Ascension is, with the Rite of Ascension, I definitely put a plot point to make sure that, like, you can have a team on that Rite of Ascension that can, like, help you out, but, like, you're the one who has to lead them for sure, but, like, you can have a team, and I kind of just wrote that in so the party has something to do during your arc.
Right.
How comfortable are you, like, let's say right now, if you had to be thrown into it with the party?
No. Absolutely not. So, Nario Kami did say this too. So basically she's like, yeah, you can have a battalion go with you to do this Rite of Ascension. However, if they disobey you or argue with anything that you say, that is punishable by death. And I was like, oh shit, can I just bring, like, one person, maybe two? And they're like, no, you have to bring all of them. And I'm like, fuck, we're doomed.
Yeah, that last all of them part was definitely just kind of some DM fiat. Like, realistically, I could have said you bring only one or two, but, like, it's gonna be much more impactful if you have to bring the whole party along.
Yeah.
And lead the entire party along through this. And the other thing, last thing I wanted to get into that I don't think is too many spoilers, is because Nario Kami also explained this. Your mother's going to be trying to scheme and plot at you at every single turn and exploit every single weakness that you possibly have. And that's going to be really interesting too, especially with this party, like, trying to play this complex political game with the odds so, like, heavily stacked against your favor.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's gonna be real fun, but really nerve-wracking.
Oh, I know. Especially because, like, they don't know exactly why Juliet left, other than the fact that they know that like, her mom's a bitch and she was being abused. But that isn't the only reason. The main reason hasn't been revealed yet. Yikes. And they also don't know what Juliet exactly has been through with her mom. Like, I've been kind of hinting at it at recent sessions, but I'm so scared for them and her. Oh my god.
Yeah, so your mother's definitely going to be a very interesting villain to play, because it's going to get extremely dark, but hopefully, like, it won't get totally insane, but, like, we'll definitely see during it how we can manage to pull that off.
Yes.
I want to pivot from there to the next arc. So after you guys left Nario Kami, we officially started the Soliana arc, which is going to be Morgan's arc, which I definitely just had a lot of fun, like, making this one and making it, like, big and interesting, and this one was a crazy one.
Yeah. You think?
Yeah. There was so much shit that went down.
Oh, I can't wait for this fucking, like, recap episode, Shivam. I cannot wait to yell at you the entire time.
But yeah, so let's get into the chill episodes, though, where I was just establishing some ground points before everything went to shit.
Yeah.
Let's go, so, getting to the city. The first thing that happened before you guys got into the city was that you guys rescued Sprout from the gnolls and the gnoll toll. Which, by the way, like, I knew that you had to rescue Sprout from something, but as soon as I heard the word gnolls, I'm like, okay, it's a fucking gnoll toll, and I fucking based the entire fight around that fucking pun.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so Sprout was definitely a very interesting character because, like, my original plan was this. Way back when with Boondock finally leaving, Hope's Landing, Boondock is of course of Satyr, and so if you know like satyrs in like classic like Celtic lore, what satyrs normally are is that they're like they're very like happy-go-lucky individuals who just exist to like drink and party and live amongst nature, and Boondock of course, Boondock's player definitely wanted to play in the space of like Boondock being this extremely serious character, and like they still have the ties to like the satyr colony and like the satyr culture with like the music, but like besides that they're this like hard like veer away from like traditional satyr culture, and so I wanted to play that contrast in game by like showing some like traditional satyrs and showing how they're like the party loving people compared to like Boondock. So yeah, that's why I decided to first bring Sprout in, and Sprout was originally just this unnamed character, where I just had this, like, extremely drunk himbo satyr just at the, hot springs, and he just kind of
immediately tried to kill him, though, so, like, you know.
Yeah, and so, like, he was literally just a himbo, though, the only thing I wanted was that, like, maybe to get you guys to raise some questions or something like that, but, like, no one really did, and so, like, I decided, well, I'll shelve Sprout, and I did, like, he didn't really, like, appear. But then, like, Boondock's player came up to me and was like, you know, I absolutely love the ship dynamic of, like, extremely serious character and himbo dumbass.
Yes.
Is this a thing that we can like make happen? And so I said, you know what? I will see if I can bring the character back into the story. And so he finally got properly named and was like integrated back into the story as Sprout. And so like instead of just being this dumbass like generic character, now he has like a lot more like character traits and stuff like that. But at the time when I first introduced him, he was just like generic himbo. I had an idea for, like, what he was going to be eventually, but, like, for right then, it was literally just generic himbo. And so I'm really looking forward to, explaining how I kind of repurposed him and, like, how he ended up changing through this arc with the characters. Yeah, and so, other notes I want to get on to, you want to explain Toadbert a little more?
So, okay, listen, I didn't intend for all this shit to happen with Toadbert, okay? I just wanted to fuck around a little bit, and I have consequences for my actions. I'm dumb, okay?
Yeah. But, to explain, to take you behind the screen here, Toadbert, of course, was not a planned character. Like,
at all.
Well, I was literally describing the set piece, and I figured, like, you guys are just gonna go directly to the meeting, but then you guys didn't. Juliet was just like, oh, I just want to fuck around with, some scientists. And originally, it wasn't even, like, Toadbert who was there. I just came up with the idea because, like, someone showed me an image with, like, a frog wizard, and I'm like, that's exactly what that character was. Like, that's what, it needs. Like, we need to put another grung in there, and we need to make, the grung extremely adorable, just so, like, Izzy feels bad about the thing she did.
Rude.
Oh
Rude.
My god. But yeah, so Toadbert kind of ended up like he ended up playing like a much greater role in the story than I anticipated. And as soon as you decided to do that thing and decided to like mess with things, my immediate first thought was that like the whatever Toadbert was mixing, it was definitely extremely important, and it could have helped the party. As soon as you fucked it up, I wanted it to be like the slight guilt of like oh, I fucked this up, and now like there's consequences for this action. And like it's one of the really fun parts about D&D, because like I hadn't planned anything for this, but because you decided to do this, like, thing, there was consequences for it that were both good and bad.
Yeah, I've still not seen the good, but, you know, it's fine.
I mean, you guys are square now, and, like, And again, it was an interesting story. Square-ish.
Square-ish.
It was an interesting story, and that's, like, the good part, is that, like, the thing I want is for you to feel something about these characters, and, like, Juliet experienced, like, fucking all 5 stages of grief with Toadbird.
Yeah! Yeah.
Yeah, and, like, and that's the thing, like, you're going to remember Toadbird. Juliet's always going to remember Toadbird, and Izzy, you might, like, remember Toadbird for, like, years to come. And, like, this was an NPC from absolutely fucking, like, nowhere. That way it wasn't planned anything whatsoever. But, like, taking the ball and just, like, running with these things, it can be so fucking rewarding to, like, to play off the things and the decisions that you guys make. Even the meaningless ones, like, you deciding to just fuck around just to find out what happens.
Yeah, I do that a lot. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, and then the third character I introduced during this arc was Mira, and so with all like the characters I introduced, Mira I originally didn't really have any sort of like huge plot or anything like that planned for, but as soon as you decided to fuck up, that's when I decided to like make Mira be like the straight man to your antics, and just have her be like this extremely like serious person who's like always just like uptight and like manages an extremely tight ship because like, you know, she doesn't want people to get hurt, and like she's especially scrutinizing you because she thinks she's like you don't take things too seriously. You know, but just having her like immediately like play this foil to you, and I think that's like the one of the biggest tips I can give for like establishing characters is that like the best thing you can do with a new character is to make it a foil to any of the PCs. So make it like give it like the opposite ideals and values and stuff like that, and that ends up like it creates a little bit of conflict, and that's interesting, because on top of that too, like if you play your PCs right and stuff like that, and you have like a good spread of PCs, some of the PCs should already be foils to each other. So like if you create a PC that's designed to be like similar to a PC or a foil to a PC, then like you create a character that ends up being like if it's a foil to one, it's then similar to the other, or if it's like if it's similar to the other, then it's a foil to this one. So like with Mira ended up being like a foil of Juliet, but like I feel like Mira ended up playing like well off of like Essen and Boondock, and in terms of like the same values and ideals.
Yes.
Yeah, anything you wanted to touch on with like the introduction of like these 3 characters, like initial thoughts about these 3 or something like that?
I immediately thought, you know, Toadbird wasn't gonna do anything. I didn't think Toadbird was gonna be anything of importance because I'm just dumb, and I was like, yeah, it'll be fine, whatever. However, I would like to mention that Mira, later on we'll talk about this too, but Mira has children, and we haven't experienced many NPCs that have children, and with Hops being the adopted daughter of you know, Essen and Juliet, it brings a better standpoint, like, oh hey, could you help us because we're dumb and we have no idea what we're doing. And because of this, it brought on more lore to Juliet than either of us anticipated.
Yeah. And that's again one of the interesting parts about D&D is like with like a book and stuff like that, you always like you write out your characters, and I feel like you know them from the beginning when you're writing them. With D&D, don't be afraid to like try new things with your character to like fit the niche in the party, or to like play off of like an event that just happened, because like the back and forth nature of this game is what makes it so special. Because like so when you gave me the thing of like Toadbird, I could bounce it back to you, because like there's consequences for this action, and so that's also one of my biggest tips to DMs is that everything should have consequences. It doesn't have to be huge things, but like finding out ways that you can make your players' actions, no matter how meaningless, have consequences, makes the story theirs and makes the story so much better. Yeah, is there anything you wanted to touch on? Questions you had for me, in terms of setting up this beginning Soliana arc?
Yes, so I know we can't really touch base on it now because it's kind of spoileries, but you deciding this is Morgan's arc. Why Soliana?
So, I wanted I wanted a magic city or something like that just in the game, because I figured, like, with Phoenix Heart, it's a very advanced society in all of, like, the towns and stuff like that, or in the land of Odyssia that I've created. So I wanted there to be, like, the idea of, like, well, if it's high fantasy and if magic's very available and magic items and stuff like that, what does a town that's run on magic look like? And I think one of my biggest things that I kind of introduced was the idea that, like, in Soliana, you guys can get body modifications. And so this could be things like a sex change, for example, but you could also do things like getting dark vision, or getting wings, or getting, like, chitinous skin and stuff like that. And in a high fantasy society, like, that's a thing that could happen and be, like, normalized. And so, like, just the idea of, like, the magic city, I really just wanted to explore that. And the reason that it became Morgan's arc is that, when Morgan's player first gave me the backstory, they had some, like, mild, quote-unquote sci-fi elements to it, and they had, like, sort of, like, a bit of, like, a mystery going on. And so I knew I had to have some sort of, like, introduction of, like, high technology or high magic in order to, facilitate what was happening in that, like, backstory, and give, like, Morgan answers to that plot. Yeah. Do you have any more questions about, like, setting things up and stuff like that, though?
Okay. I got one more question.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
What were you thinking as soon as I decided to go back into the scientist place?
Like when the first time you literally said, like, you interrupted me and, like, you said, I'm gonna go, like, fuck around with the scientists?
Yes, because I feel like this is a good practice for DMs, because, like, you have no idea what your players are gonna fucking do, and I think Julia is a prime fucking example of, like, we have no idea what she's gonna do.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because, like, I legitimately just didn't have any idea. My first guess was, like, you're going to go down there and you're going to try and steal some magic item or something like that, just so, like, you have that, a new tool or something like that to use. And I'm like, okay, I guess I can try and, like, think of some, like, generic magical item that, like, is good for you to use but has, like, some kind of side effect but is not refined, and also the consequences of, like, you stealing something. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't expect for you to, like, bat away the thing, but as soon as I started describing, like, the pouring thing, I could see, like, the gears kind of churning in your mind. I realized, like, nope, okay, I do actually see where this is going. It's kind of hard because, like, I can never expect what you're doing, because you always do the most unexpected thing.
Yeah.
But I think because you do the most unexpected thing, I can almost, like, plan for that, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I just kind of think of, like, what, because you definitely have the mindset of, like, what's the most chaotic and, like, silly thing I can do here. And, like, as the DM, like, I fucking love to see you do, like, the silly, goofy things, but also, like, in the world, like, the world's realistic. The world's gonna react in a realistic way to, like, the silly, goofy thing you're doing.
Yeah.
So I have to definitely play, like, the straight man to your, like, goofy antics. And so, like, it's normally just, like, whenever I see you break off from the party like that, I always just, like, I establish a very serious character, because I always know, like, that's the thing that's gonna play off, like, whatever chaotic energy you're on right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
but otherwise, no. There's no real planning and, like, preparation that goes into, like, me being able to deal with Hurricane Juliet.
Yeah.
It just taking the punches as they go.
Yeah. Yeah. But
did you have any more questions for me?
Yeah, well, I was also going to establish this. I know, like, me personally, Izzy knows that there are consequences to the shit that I do. So I'm not just doing it just to fuck around and mess with everybody just because. I know that, like, there are consequences to things that I do. So don't think that I'm just going around fucking with everybody just because I'm a dick.
Yeah. You at least try to be, like, somewhat restrained in your actions, and, like, you definitely do impulsive things, and you definitely have done some, like, some shit.
Yeah.
But, like, it's always within the realms of, like, one, you can justify it, which is all that I ask. And two, it's never always that bad, and, like, every single time you fucked up, it's made for a more interesting narrative.
Oh yeah, and especially with, like, the other party members, like, having to either help her out or, like, get her out of trouble makes it, like, 10 times cooler to, like, see how everybody interacts and helps each other out.
Yes, absolutely. If you didn't have any more questions, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So, if you can remember this, so you're going fresh-faced into Soliana, into, like, the whole thing with the ball. Did you, what parts of, like, the story did you predict, and where did you think everything was going?
Okay, so I only predicted some things because you told us, like, hey, this is what you could easily get body modifications if you really wanted to, and I'm like, oh my fucking god, I can finally get dark vision because I don't have dark vision and it pisses me off.
And then you forgot to get dark vision.
I also forgot to get dark vision. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. It's cool. It's cool. So I knew that there was gonna be, like, you know, like, some weird experiments and whatnot, and with this being Morgan's arc, quote unquote, and this being more of, like, a sciencey kind of thing, I was expecting, like, you know, yeah, I really was, and there was none, and I was sad. But
in hindsight, like, yeah, no, that probably could have been a thing. Hold on, let me write
that down. Put it in real quick. But I wasn't expecting, like, I mean, I was expecting them to be more serious and stoic about things because they're scientists and they're like, oh, math and, like, numbers, you know? But I wasn't expecting some of the NPCs, like the district leaders, like the bronze district leader and the gold district leader, really fucking surprised me. I was like, okay. And the ball thing, I fucking knew there was a trap. I dead ass knew something was gonna happen, and I was fucking right. I didn't expect all the shit that was happening for that shit, though. Cries.
Oh, man.
Cries, yeah. But I'll get into that later. But going into Soliana, it was more than I expected there would be. With the Sprout thing, and then me deciding, like, you know, me playing Juliet, I don't even know what the fuck she's gonna do, and so with the whole scientist thing, that was just a whim. I did not expect that, and I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have done
that. Yeah. Oh, man.
But yeah, so, other than that, I mean, I was happy with it. I was excited. I didn't know what the fuck was happening. I was like, cool. Yeah. Science.
Yeah, no, this one definitely was definitely one of the most fun for me to run, because, like, I had a very good idea and a very clear picture of pretty much everything through the arc. I think I only had to change one major detail of it when, like, some things happened. We'll get into that a little bit later.
Toadbird.
Well, yes, tying in Toadbird, but, like, you guys actually had guessed one of my plot points and, like, actually changed things, and so, like, I was going to let it happen, but that was too interesting of a point to not let things happen, so I decided to, like, figure some things out, and then end up, like, making a slight tweak, and then, like, change some things, and honestly, I'm much better off with how things ended with all those arcs and information.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, I do get what you mean with the scientist characters and being a little serious, though. I feel bad that I didn't put any sort of mad scientist characters in there or any sort of
That's
things
what I
like
thought was
that.
gonna happen. I'm so
Mhm.
excited. I'm like, where is it? Where is it? That's, honestly, a little part of me thought that's what I was gonna go find when I went back there, but I didn't find one, so it's fine. Instead, I ruined some man's life.
Oh God. Yeah. I probably would have done it, but I was a little skeptical about like putting like more fishy stuff with the guilds because like.
Oh, that's true. With what's been going on.
Especially because like there's already been a huge scandal with Ibis Cogniocious before, and so like getting more fishy shit in there, like it would have tied into things well, but like it would have been one of those plot holes where like, well, why didn't you investigate like the fishy suspicious guild for the suspicious things that were happening?
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, no, very satisfied with how things went. Very excited to tell you guys about the next week. The things that happened and the things we kind of planned out.
Morgan's
but thank
birthday.
You all. Yeah. But thank you all for listening to another episode of PhoenixChat. Hope you're again enjoying our new format. Special shout outs to our patrons, Modgoth, Nyquil Dreamer, and Spicy Turntable. You guys help us make better content and inspire us to keep creating. Izzy, you got a fun fact to lead us out with?
Yes. So, besides guitar, Boondock can play violin, harmonica, and banjo. PhoenixChat.